Nithyanandam, guys! Welcome back to the Kundalini Yogini. I am here with an amazing spiritual squad today, and we are in the park in Southern California, and we just have been having such a beautiful day full of amazing conversation, and the boys just filmed an incredible podcast on their channel, so you guys definitely should check that out at the Infinite Cup. But we'll let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the topic today, which is going to be all about spirituality, relationships, and the intersection of all that fun stuff in our lives. So yes, go ahead, guys.
I'm married to Prasiddha. My name is Nithyanandam. Blissful Athlete is my YouTube and Instagram channel, and I had the pleasure of going on to Robert's channel, the Infinite Cup. That was like a month ago now or something.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Robert's doing incredible things. He's into iridology, which we're going to do a video on at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll let you talk a bit more about what you're doing too.
The Infinite Cup, all things spirituality, health, and wellness. Yeah, excited. The podcast is doing well. We're just excited to have the satsang, this amazing group of like-minded people. Just excited to share the community.
So. Yeah, my name is Allison, and my channel is Heal Yourself with Nature on both Instagram or YouTube. And I mostly make videos about like holistic health, and lots of videos now with our new baby Zane.
Yeah, basically, like we were chatting earlier about just sharing all of our experiences with, we all live really unique lifestyles, I would say, and they're currently living van life, traveling around, living out of their awesome decked out van, but they also do really similar work to me and Drita as being digital nomads, and being content creators online, and also doing it together. And so we were kind of just talking about that together, and I think that it is so important to discuss because you go through so much different expansion processes in long-term relationships, right? In any aspect of your life. And I think especially obviously with our romantic partners, we tend to focus our energy in that relationship, and so we face a lot in those relationships across the spectrum, right? Because they're the person that's our constant reflection, and especially when that person becomes multiple, this dynamic relationship for us, and that's what we're all experiencing with one another, with our partners in particular, right? Because we have Drita's not just my husband, he's my business partner, my co-worker, my co-team leader, my spiritual guide, and my husband, right? So it's like all these things in one, and how to navigate that, and how to balance that, and what we've learned in the process. So I really wanted to hear from you guys, especially as a young family, and in a similar path as us, but also with a new baby, and hearing about that and how that's been for you guys, and even the parenting aspect incorporating into those relationships.
So much, yeah, so much. It's just, we all have the relationships, we all have emotions, and it's just, these things can be used for a vehicle for transformation and growth. That's the thing, is we all have these desire systems, right? And the way I look at it is we can use those desires to uplift ourselves, to uplift our consciousness. And it was definitely a conscious choice, Alice and I, going into this, because I want somebody that's going to call me out on my things, and whether it's something as simple as a spelling error when I need it, or something a little bit more deep and spiritual, that I can look at myself and actually have that constructive criticism and not get into that reactive state so much. I consciously want somebody in my life that's going to push me to that limit, and in a way that is very harmonious, not in a judgmental type way. Yeah. So that's where I think a conscious relationship is very important, using that as a tool to create that change that you want to see within yourself.
Yeah. I heard somebody use the terminology your relationship being your container for growth. You want to look at it in that way too. I'm trying to evolve spiritually and as my own person. Robert's doing the same thing, and then we want to use our relationship as a tool for our own growth as well.
Yeah,
we need to continue to grow and evolve in our relationship in those aspects.
Yeah, and I think that term conscious, what does it mean, right? I think in the simplest term, it's doing something with intention versus doing it by default, right? Yes. And I think that's, I guess, the best way I could summarize it. And I think that matters so much in our relationships. Just that context alone makes a significant difference in our relationships with ourselves and with life, because when we, select, or even just are consciously every day choosing to be with someone, right?
Yes.
It's because I'm actually deciding for this, and there's a reason for it. And I think sadly we go a lot of times in our lives being raised under the concept that we're doing things out of default because we're supposed to, and or because somebody's already been in our life, and so it's almost like this pattern that gets created, right? Or it's from an attachment place that we're not letting go of somebody, right? And so
100%.
when we're now embarking in these relationships in our new adult young adult life, as seeking somebody purposefully that like was there to expand us, I can really say that for us, I think that's been the fundamental strength of our relationship throughout all of our trials, and we've had them, of course, like anybody, but the central theme being like it's not just love for us. There was like a purpose, a really spiritual purpose, and a personal growth, if you even want to bring it to that level, expansion behind being together, like exactly 100%. Like you said. And I think that does set it up as a different dynamic, right?
Yes. 100%. When you take away the physical and you have just our soul and that soul connection that we all have, it's a karmic connection. And it's something that you can use consciously to help relieve karma, to help do what we need to do on planet Earth. So you can do that by yourself on this very lonely path. It's no judgment. It's just whatever resonates with you. I thought that was my path in the beginning. You just don't know till you know. We have that mirror consciousness, and seeing Allison, I'm very much mirrored within myself, and what the things that we want to achieve are right in line with each other, and everything that we do just circles back to a representation of that.
It's funny, one of his friends asked us recently too, did you ever think that you would find somebody who could like keep up with you, like who would match you in the same way?
Yeah.
And when we thought about it, like we both started thinking about that kind of when we first met, and it was like we were both just ready for each other. It wasn't even like a question. It was so different than other relationships that I've like had in the past too.
When you don't go through all that sleazy stuff of like manipulation, texting, whatever. There's a lot of things
should I text him back? Should I not text him back?
I like how you termed that, but it's so accurate.
I'm just calling it out what it is. That's all it is, right? We all did it. We all did it. I can, confess to that. I'm just saying, for me, especially me, it's like there was this weight lifted off of me because you don't have to play that role anymore, right?
So true.
Of who you think you are. You can just be. And then someone loves you for how you are rather than this projection and this image of who you think you are.
And that's when you can really start to like change and grow and evolve too, when you're not trying to like play this role or be this certain kind of person or come off a certain way with somebody, and you can really show someone who you are. Then you're like, you have to be real with yourself to be able to do that, So it really kind of makes you confront yourself even more,
I think it all starts with like making sure that you're at a certain level with your own spiritual growth before you have that addition. I think that's the one common thread between all of us, is that we got to a certain point on our journeys where we were conscious of who we were as an individual and what we do want to see in a partner 100%. And what that means moving forward. And I think that's maybe the most important thing, is that you focus on yourself, because ultimately this is a spiritual journey for you. You're going to leave the body alone at some point. So choosing a teammate is really important, but you are, it's not selfish, this is not ego based, but this is your journey also. And so making sure that partner is going to be supporting them.
That's so true. We kind of like, on the few videos we've done together on relationships, we kind of joke, but like often we're like, our central theme is actually like, by the way, it's all about you. Like, please don't focus ever in the external person. Like, it really won't get you very far. And I think we all kind of can agree on that.
100%.
But also, it's so important to remember, because I think the desire and attachment to seeking a partner is often the overwhelming desire for a lot of human beings, and they are constantly suffering because of it. Because they're either have not found that person, they feel extremely alone, they feel they never will, or whoever they're with doesn't meet those expectations. Because, and here's the secret thing, right? Nobody ever will. Until you, again, like you said, Judah, come to terms with yourself, right? When you really get settled inside of you, everything else comes naturally. It's like you, Allison, you were saying, it just kind of, there's no effort. And it's true. Like when me and Judah met too, same thing. There was no shenanigans. It was just, I literally knew from the second I met him, like, this is the person that's going to be my partner for life. And if he isn't, I'm going to be a monk. I really knew that. And he felt the exact same way. It was just, everything was matched up. It was harmonious, and it just happened. But I think, like you said, it was just because when you get really grounded in your own path and who you are, and you even just have that first tier of clarity
Yes.
over yourself and where you want to go, the right person will, if the person's supposed to be there, will come in to meet you there, right?
You'll hear that like expression a lot too, that like, oh, once I stopped looking, then like I met that person, you know? And
So
I feel
true.
like that's kind of how it works, is like once you feel really good with yourself and you're just like loving life, and then
It's
it's
a
like,
bigger-
then it just all kind of clicks.
Yeah, it's a bigger analogy. It's just as happiness, right? We all want to be happy, and I think the general program right now is that people are looking for happiness outside themselves through whatever means, and that's not sustainable. It's just not going to happen. So learning how to make yourself happy, and then whatever you do with your partner is just a bonus. That's how I look at it, and that kind of stops all that programming, manipulation stuff, because you're not, you know, projecting somebody else to create that happiness for you. You're just exuding it from yourself all the time, and that way it takes the pressure off of both parties. You know what I mean? I feel like, especially in the beginning of me, relationships were a big part of my life. For like, I made the mistake of finding myself through other people, right? And we really need to take that time alone to discover ourselves before making that karmic contract, as I like to call it, because intercourse especially is karma. You're exchanging karma.
Oh, yeah.
Anything before that, little light, not a big deal, but definitely when you take that plunge, there's a karmic exchange whether you like it or not, even if you're not with those people for the rest of your life. So I just want to say, again, this could be used consciously, and when you know those things, you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't sleep with that person, or should, you know what I mean? You got to really think about and ask yourself, call yourself out why you're doing these certain things in your
That
life.
comes back to like living consciously, or like living an intentional life too. It's like, why am I doing this? Is it just for pleasure, or like what are the reasons behind it? And you have to really like be at a point where you can dissect those layers, you know, like really go deep with things. So.
Yeah, it's no judgment.
It's like going shopping. You know, like you're gonna pick this product. You know, you're gonna pick this cognition, this like thought pattern, and you're gonna bring that into your system. That's what your partner is doing. That's so that like I when you said that, I'm like, yeah, that really needs to be emphasized. Like the bio memory that's being transferred in intercourse in sexual relationships is very real. You can see somebody's space either elevate or drop based off of that experience.
So true.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say was another word that is important, I think, is wholeness. As far as you are already whole. So you can't enter into a relationship thinking that you're gonna get this from this person and now I've got it, you know?
Like even the terminology, like missing piece, completing each other, other half, better half, like those are not the right terms. Please, like, if you take anything from that video, like just that language is important to be aware of and not to play into. I was actually, that's perfect segue. I was just thinking I wanted to ask you guys your take on, even within the spiritual community, the idea of soulmates, twin flames, and that whole dynamic, and what you guys have seen from that, and what you'd like to share about that.
We would love to go into that.
We actually just recently went and got like aura photography done, and that was
really cool.
Yeah, so the lady who did it was actually a psychic too, and I wasn't expecting, but she like gave us a reading, and then she told us basically that like we're like genuine twin flames, and she was like very hesitant to use that word. She was like, I don't mean this in like the new agey kind of way. Like, I'm not throwing around this terminology lightly, but it was funny. She like explained more about what that meant and how like we're just a genuine like reflection of each other. Like that we were going to be going through the same experiences on our life path. Like, and a lot of times what happens in relationship is that like one person's really going through something and the other person's like the rock, like holding the foundation for the relationship. And she was like, but what I see in you guys is that you guys are going to be going through like your things at the same time. So like when you're having
really
like,
auspicious.
you know, so it's been really interesting in that way, and I would say that's definitely like held
So
true
that's
for
the case.
us too.
That's
It's
the
like,
that's just the case for people that think they have a twin flame, or so. I was there too, and it's one of those things. That's kind of how I would define it right there. She, the psychic, put it in a great way. It's more of the term I love the most still is karmic contract, because that's what I remember the day it happened too. I remember like sitting in meditation, being like, okay, Robert, you're entering this. Like, this is a conscious decision that you have to make. You have this other monk road. You have all these things you can do, but this is what it looks like.
Which way you gonna go?
And I consciously entered that because I knew it was going to bring me more growth and expand my awareness than I would have in this other path. So yes, the spiritual terms, twin flames, so they do exist. It's just, I would say they're probably 89% of them are just woo-woo new agey things because they're not experienced. They're not. It's not lived through. It's kind of just you know, you see it in a video or you hear it somewhere and then you think you have that connection, but it really transcends our, you know, human self too. I want to just say that it's not something like, yes, physically I'm attracted, she's beautiful, all that stuff, but it's way more than that. Like way more than that. And that's one thing I can remember to the day is like this particular photo that I got from Allison when we first met, and that's all I needed, because that photo, her not only her expression in her face, but her soul was connecting with me, and there was a very very specific message that was going through that photo, right? That most people would have, you know, not even understood if they were just on that material, like, oh, she's got big boobs or a nice face or whatever, you know? Meaning you can always get what you want out of it if you just see the surface. But I remember very specifically piercing through that veil and just being amazed. I was like, wow, this is real right here. And that's what sealed the deal for me. And just like, you know, that contract, I just signed the dotted line right there.
You're like, sign me up.
I was like, cool, here we go. That's
Another really cool thing too that we both definitely felt was when we had the baby, we felt like a shift, I would say, in our relationship. Like, we felt our family be born at that point too. That it was like, you're entering into this thing that like you walk through these gates that you can't like come back from, you know? And so, yeah, that was really cool too. It was like feeling another soul join our party. And like, okay,
it's all energy.
Contract with him
It's
too,
all
you know?
energy.
So,
that's exactly how I look at it. It's all energy. There's so much love pouring through me at all times that it's beyond me now. You know what I mean? And now this little thing is a manifestation of that by our love, and it's literally created a whole nother human being, and it blows my mind thinking about it. It really does.
That's a beautiful context. I mean, it makes me think of, I remember reading in some of the Vedas, I think it explains how there's two things which are always beyond like Atma, like the individual consciousness. We have a ton of free will, like we do. We can create our entire reality, but there's two things beyond individual will and only organized by cosmic will, which is birth and death. The cycle of birth and death can never be just changed by me, my will alone. And so when a life comes into play, I do see that it makes so much sense why we experience those things with both birth and death. There are huge pivotal points that are extremely part of the larger picture, you know? And so it's so beautiful to play that part and to see it come to fruition, you know, through you, that you created that and you see that that God particle of yourself, because like 100%. You just created a being. Doesn't that make you God? No, like, right? Like by our even our Western understanding. And so I've always thought of that even as a young girl, like the power of creation is proof that we are the same. Like whatever being that we relate to, whether it's form or formlessness, we have that same capacity where it's like miraculous, you know? It's so amazing. But back to the soulmate thing, I really like how she explained that, and I appreciate that because I get that a lot. I see that a lot on my channel, and a lot of people ask me about it, and I always like really feel it's so important to clarify that for the most part, when people use those terms, I see them being used in an unhealthy way. I see them being used as again, almost like an obsession, whether minor or major, with finding somebody who's gonna be your missing puzzle piece. Finding somebody who's that's what your life is for. And it's like, no, guys, like,
I'm still looking for my twin flame. I'm still searching for
that's not how it works. There definitely may be somebody who falls into your life so beautifully and adds so much.
You wouldn't realize that they were that person or call them that until like after the fact.
You know, exactly.
You're like, oh, shoot.
So I think, actually that's a good point. So to say it, I would definitely advise to like stay away from seeking the soulmate and twin flame. If your partner comes, they come, right? But the seeking of it, I do find as usually sometimes almost like it's taking you away from the inner journey, which is, spirituality is only one thing, it's inward. That's all. Like anything else is not, like, that's as simple as it is. It's the inward journey to self. You know?
I would say if you're somebody who's really seeking that out too, then ask yourself what it is that you want or what it is that you're seeking in a soulmate, and become that thing, because that's really the thing that your soul is like craving.
So beautiful.
I think it was your mom or somebody asked us when we met and stuff, like what did you, it was the thing you asked, it was what did you do to like work on yourself in order to meet me? Remember that question? And how you answered it?
Oh, that's a really good question too.
Like, oh, how did you find him, or like how did you?
Yeah.
And I said I worked really hard on myself.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
See, I mean,
That's so true.
It's not. I just want to say anything that is that seeking mode where you're just obsessing about it. That's proof that the ego, the small self, is in control.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna lead you to that sustainable, loving thing you want anyway.
Yeah.
So when you drop that thing behind it is really where the magic is.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of discipline to drop that part of yourself that's constant because we live in a world that's empty. It's not fulfilling. It's not fulfilling us to that deepest level. And honestly, I mean, I'm still fulfilled now more than ever, but it's not, it transcends all layers. It's not on the surface. It's not, it's something that penetrated and went way beyond all my expectations that I could have even tried to comprehend.
So true. Oh, I love hearing from you guys. And I guess one last thing I would love to hear from you guys about the specific aspect which is not a part of our lives as of yet, but for you guys is this the parenting, the raising of a new being, and also just the whole unit that you guys have become and how that has affected you. Like, what would you, I know it's kind of hard, that's a big question, but like what's your most juiciest bit of experience from that?
You go first.
I think like the process of birth, like I was talking about too, like the birthing of a family, like you really feel that, and especially in the first couple of days, it was like I just had this like amazing, I was just on cloud 9, like we are the most awesome people ever, and we have the most amazing baby, and life is like
so
just
beautiful.
way more than I ever could have like expected it to be.
I love it. It's something I can geek out on too, as far as like we can prove it scientifically, right? Like oxytocin is that love chemical. We were so high on oxytocin for a good week to the point where we weren't even on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And that's that bonding, chemical that we're talking about when it comes to that family experience. And a lot of people don't let themselves have that experience. So that's what we mean, circling back to just conscious relationships. You can have any relationships where it can be very gratifying for the senses, or you're doing something more meaningful. And at the end of the day, baby Z, he is just not beyond the blessing in the sense that we both felt this calling, like this thing that was a soul asking us to come through, and it was something that we really had to think about. And like I said, you kind of filter that into your physical scientific self and hormones and body, and like how you have a job or whatever, all these things that your mind wants to do. But when you drop all of that and again just accept what is, that's when these miracles really happen for real. And it's something that you I feel like even if you try to comprehend it, you're almost doing a disservice to the universe, because that's like saying to the universe, like, no, I want it this way.
Mapping it to your logic, which is limited.
Very limited, extremely limited to this infinite perspective that we have, available to us all the time. So for me, I mean, that's even while I'm saying that, I still am excited to what I look forward to. Like it's something that it just doesn't end. So
it's funny. So many people have commented like, "Oh, you're gonna have the most like woke child ever," and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want that like expectation, or to feel like we need to like live up to some bar. He needs to be some yogi by the time he's like 4 years old or whatever, But
we definitely feel that calling though to create the change with our family and represent a modern spiritual life that is a little more gratifying to our soul and less gratifying to the senses, and just kind of playing all fields out equally.
Totally. So cool. It's been like seriously such an honor to connect with you guys and hear your perspectives on everything, and it's so cool for me. Like, one of my favorite things, I've always told Drita this, but I love being in the world. I always have. Because I just love connection and just meeting like life in all these different forms. It's always amazed me, and it still does. It still like always perplexes me, but I just enjoy so much, even just being back in California and all of the beings that I have encountered that I never expected, and the relationships that I've formed, and it's just so beautiful. Yes. Like, life just continues to give and shower and surround, like, people come, and I also like want to share that to all you guys listening. I know in the beginning of spiritual journeys it can feel extremely isolating and extremely alone, and I get that from a lot of people. Like, I feel you so deep, because I felt that too at one point. I think we all go through that when we're awakening. It can feel really isolating because we feel different from everyone we're around. But there's a reason for that. Is because your old self was those people, but now you're not that self anymore. But the beautiful news is that when you start living as that self for a continued amount of time, and you start evolving, you will see that all the people that match you now are going to start coming in your life, like
100%.
without even effort, and I really like want to share that from the bottom of my heart. Like, don't give up, because you will see the more that you keep radiating your experiences and truth and living for yourself, you know, and really finding that inside of you, that people just come. People really come. You'll find your community, you'll find your family, you'll find your friends, and it's not at all going to be an isolating thing, like, at all.
I think when I kind of started on a spiritual path or journey, I felt very isolated, and thank goodness, like, that was the benefit of social media for me, was that, like, I could connect to other people that weren't in my field at the time, you know, and I did feel very lonely, and I tried to, like, hide that. I tried to, like, hide that part of myself, or, like, not continue on that path, because it was so different than everyone else. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. So, but the more that I, like, come out with that, the more it allows other people to be their true authentic selves too, and then people are like, wow, I've been having those same thoughts, but I never talked about it, you know, I never spoke about it until now. So the more you allow yourself to be true to who you are, the more you empower others to do the same. You know?
100%. I mean, that's totally why we also always preach, like, enriching is, like, it's part of our life for a reason. Like, the reason why we're not off the grid, like literally isolated in the Himalayas, is for that exact reason. I've seen it too powerfully shown in our life. Our guru emphasizes it 24/7, and I see why. I've never expanded more in my life than when I've just had to give myself to more and more and more quantity of people, because the more relationships you build, you naturally are just, like, rapidly expanding, right? Your capacity to hold people is what shows your power. And so, like, the more that you, and by power I don't mean like power over, right, but power inside, and your strength, and that divinity in you, you know, and growing that, I think
It's a good way to look at it.
it's such a, like, amazing tool to be able to hold people, to help people, to even just be a reflection for people, to be a listener for people. It's so huge. And, like, I saw this one thing on Instagram that said, like, and I really, really liked it. It was just saying, like, everybody's scared to take the first step. Be the one who takes the first step. And, like, that's how I really try to live my life now, because it's so true. People just are waiting. They're, like, literally craving, praying, crying for somebody to take the first step, and everyone is too scared. They're inside, and they're so scared to reach out. They're so scared to open up. They're so scared to talk. They're so scared to question. So when you're there doing that, it holds the space for other people to do the same, you know?
I agree. I love that.
So, yeah, that's our lives, I guess, and we're so blessed to, like, have that opportunity here, you know, and it's so cool, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. They're embarking to Hawaii soon.
Yes.
Moving
it's
over
all
there, so it's
happening.
gonna be so magical. Make sure to follow their journeys. They have such cool content, from even just what I've seen today too, and connecting with them. Like, definitely check all their stuff out. And of course, this guy over here, as you know, I always plug him. But well, thank you guys. Is there any last thing you want to share before we sign off?
Okay. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you
Keep
guys. Yes. Everyone, I hope you have a beautiful time. Make sure you can always reach out to literally any of us. We're definitely available to you guys to help you in any ways that we can and answer your questions. You can even do it in the comments below if it's easiest for you, or connect to any of us on social media, Instagram, whatever. Thank you guys again. Nithyanandam.